All right, welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to take a look at sine and cosine and doing vertical translations. All that means is just sliding them up and down, okay? So if we look at this first equation here, these values, so whatever is getting multiplied out front, that's your amplitude. Anything that is in front of your x value here, that's your frequency. So our frequency in this case is equal to 1. And if anything's being added or subtracted, that's going to be our new midline. So the new midline of this graph is going to be at 1. Okay, its amplitude is going to be 4. So it's going to go between 5, that's 4 above that, and 1, 2, 3, 4 below it. And then its period, remember to get the period equals 2 pi divided by whatever the frequency. So the frequency here is 1. So it's just 2 pi divided by 1, which is just 2 pi. So we're going to see one cosine between 0 and 2 pi right here. All right, so to graph that, that would just look like, now remember, here's your center point. Okay, here's your high point. So I'm going to take this little section in here, cut it into 4 little parts. Okay, and then this graph is going to be a cosine in between them. Now it's going to look a little better than that because we're going to use this graphing tool. All right, so let's clear that out of there. And click on this graphing tool. All right, so we know that it's a cosine graph. So I click right here on cosine and then just click on the origin. And then down here I have these sliders. So my amplitude is 4. I enter a 4 there. My period was 2 pi. And then I take the vertical shift and I move it to 1. And there's my new graph. Hit save and check our answer. All right, take a look at the next one. Okay, so it says use the graph to determine the domain. All right, so our domain of this is all real numbers because it goes on forever to the right, whoa, and the left. So when I type in my domain here, using interval notation, which means I'm going to go parentheses, then negative infinity, comma, positive infinity, close parentheses, right? Check that. Good. All right, now determine the range. Well, the range is the highest and the lowest point. So it goes from 5 to negative 3. So when we do that now, it touches 5. So now I'm going to use bracket, square bracket, and then I'm going to go from the bottom, negative 3, to the top, 5, bracket, and that is my range. Let's check that. Good to go. And we move on to the next question. Okay, now, this one is written just like the last one, but the order's a little different. Okay, so when we take a look at this guy, Okay, we've got y equals 1 minus 3 cosine 4x. Now, that is the exact same thing. I could write it like that, or I could write it like this. Negative 3 cosine 4x plus 1. It's the same thing. All right, so what do all these things tell us? So that negative means we're going to flip it over the x-axis. So we're going to flip over the x. Okay, the 3 tells us our amplitude. Okay, the 4 is our frequency. So our period for this is going to be 2 pi divided by 4, which is equal to 1 pi over 2. And then the 1 is a vertical slide. That's our new midline. So we're going to vertically slide this 1 up. That's the midline. Okay, so let's click on our tool here and put that information. So let's see, we've got a cosine graph, so I choose my cosine graph. Click on the origin, there's a cosine. Okay, I'm going to first click right here where it says reflection about the x-axis. Then I'm going to put in my amplitude. Okay, I'm going to shift it 1 up. And then here I'm going to put in my new period, which is pi divided by 2. Just type in pi, and then the division p, and then 2. And there's our graph. All right, then it's going to ask us what's the domain and what's the range. So our domain is all real numbers from left to right. So in interval notation, that would be parentheses, negative infinity to infinity. And then we'll type that in. Then it's going to ask us for the range, which is negative 2 to 4. But it includes negative 2, so I put a bracket, and it includes 4, so I put a bracket. All right, let's type that info in. Okay, so this is going to be parentheses, negative infinity, positive infinity, parentheses. Okay, and then our range is bracket, negative 2, comma 4. Close the bracket. And that's how you graph vertical translation. It's either sliding the midline up or it's sliding the midline down. All right. Determine the equation of the function that is graphed. I'm going to make this bigger here. All right. So if we look at this, we can tell this is a cosine graph. Right? So we know we're going to have cosine. All right, let's see where the midline is. So here's our high point, our low point, and our high point. So it's going to be right in the middle of that. So that's at positive 2. So that's 2. All right. Now, if I look to get over here and get my amplitude, that's the distance from the midline to the high point or the midline to the low point. And that's 1, 2, 3. So my amplitude goes right there. Okay. And now I got to input my frequency. All right. So I see one cycle of sine between 0 and 2 pi. So this is just 1x for x. I'm going to have y equals 3 cosine x plus 2. So my choice is going to be okay. More here. Clear that out for you guys. All right. Uh, we got it looks like a cosine again. Okay. Let's get our midline. Okay, so 6 is our high point. -4 is our low point. So the midline is going to be halfway between those. All right, so if I do 6 plus -4, that's 2. And divide that by 2, and I get 1. So my midline here is going to be at. So on for my equation, that's where we put our frequency. This is where we put our amplitude. And then this is where the midline is. So our midline is, our new midline is at y. Okay, and then to get the frequency, if I look at this, I see one complete cycle of sine between 0 and 2 pi. So my frequency is 1. And my amplitude from 1 to the high point, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? So I have 5 cosine x plus 1 as my. Okay, now we got a sine graph. So when we're looking at this guy here, the order that this is written, it could have been written like this, guys. 5 sine x minus 2. It's the same thing. All right. So here is this is our new midline, or that's a vertical slide 2 down. So when we graph it, our new midline is going to be here. Okay, the 5 gives us our amplitude. So our graph is going to go 5 boxes above it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 boxes below. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. our frequency, right in front of that x, our frequency, there's nothing there, so it's a 1. So that means we're going to see one cycle of sine. Remember, sine looks like this now, between 0 and 2 pi. Right? So there's 2 pi. So I'm just going to cut this into 4 little pieces. And then my sine graph would look something. Okay, now we're going to use the tool to do it. Clear this out. All right, we got a sine graph, so I click on my sine tool, come over here, click at the origin. All right, I know that the amplitude was 5, so I set that at 5. Okay, my period, since the frequency was 1, the period doesn't change, it's still 2 pi. So remember, period equals 2 pi divided by whatever the frequency. So the frequency in this case was 1, so it's still just 2 pi. And then we have a vertical shift of 2 down, -2. And that's my graph. Alrighty. So we got y equals -3 minus 4 cosine 2x. All right. So if I leave it like this, okay, this is my midline. So that's a vertical slide 3 down. So here's where this is my midline. All right. Now this negative, this is going to flip it over the x-axis. Okay, so this is a cosine. So a regular cosine looks like that. So our cosine is going to be flipped. It's going to look like that. All right, and now the frequency, amplitude is 4. So the high point is going to be 4 above this. Four below it. Okay, and now our frequency is 2. So the period is going to be 2 pi divided by 2, which is pi. All right, so here's what that means. Between now, we're going to see one cycle, one of these, between 0 and pi. So there's 0 and here's pi. So we'll see one cycle in this space here. Okay, so whatever that is, I divide it into 4 parts. And now I'm just going to draw this. And that would be our graph. Okay, now you're going to do it with a tool. Do that now. So we are picking a cosine tool. Click on the origin. There's my cosine. My amplitude was 4, not -4, 4. I click the X over reflection, X-axis reflection because of that -4. All right, my period changed to pi, so I type in pi, and then we haven't done phase shifts yet. And then, let's see, we said our period was pi, and I think that got it all. Midline is -3, so I go vertical shift -3. And there's our graph. All right, so we got a cosine graph, and I can write it either way. They're both the same thing. So I have a vertical shift 4 up. I've got a vertical stretch by 2. I've got to flip over the x-axis because of this negative in front of the 2 right there. That flips it over the x-axis. My frequency is 1/3. So my period is 2 pi divided by 1/3. 2 pi times 3 over 1, 6 pi. Now, the order that you put these in here is important. You're always going to do amplitude and flips first because these involve multiplication. Which one you do first doesn't matter. So I can do it in this order, 1, 2, and then these two, it doesn't matter. Okay, I can then do my shift, then I can do my frequency, or vice versa. All right, but I want to be sure that I do these first before I do any shift. So when I got a cosine graph, cosine, click the origin. Okay, I'm going to do my amplitude 2, right? Then I am going to flip it over the x-axis before I start shifting. So now my shift is going to be 4 up, not 4, 4, and my new period is 6 pi. No, not yet. Okay, there we go. Okay, and I want to make that 6 pi. There we go. Save it. And there's our graph. So the order is important. Always, if there's any flipping going on, do it before you do any shifting up or down. Here's our equation. Now, that is the same as writing it like this. Same thing. So I got a shift 3 up. My amplitude is 1. My frequency, which is in front of the x, that's also 1. So that means that my period is going to be the regular 2 pi. 2 pi divided by the frequency. So I'm looking for a sine graph. Looks like that. It's been slid 3 places up. Okay, so if I look at my choices here, All right. This sine graph has been shifted 3 up. Okay, there's its new midline. Okay, its amplitude is 1 above it, 1 below it. Yep. And I should see one cycle, but this is a cosine graph, so I know it can't be A. Move on. Okay, so now let's take a look at B. Okay, B is a sine graph, but let's see, its midline, it moved too far up because here the midline should be at 3. So that one's too high up. So no, it can't be B. Okay, take a look at C here. Okay, there's a cosine. Its midline is 3. Goes 1 up, 1 down. I see one cycle of sine between 0 and 2 pi. So that's our solution. Okay, let's see. We've got negative 5 plus 1/3 sine 2x. So I can write it like that, or 1/3 sine 2x minus 5. Either way. All right, so we've got a amplitude of 1/3. We've got a frequency of 2. So our period is going to be 2 pi divided by the frequency, which is just pi. Okay, this is a sine graph. And then we've got a vertical shift that is 5 down. Okay, no flipping going up. Okay, so we go sine, amplitude, 1/3. Okay, vertical shift, 5 down, no flips, and our period is up. So you just type in P up, and there's our graph. Excellent. All right, our last one. Okay, we've got a sine. It's just a 3 plus cosine. So all it is just get split up 3 places. Y equals 3 plus sine. So we're looking for a regular cosine that's been shifted 3 up. All right, so if we look at A here, okay, that's an upside down cosine, can't be that. Okay, this is a sine graph, can't be that. Could be C, and D is a sine graph, so we know it's going to have to be C. Let's make that bigger and just make sure that we got it. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, there's the midline. Yep. Goes 1 above it, 1 below it, and we see one cycle of cosine between 0 and 2 pi. lickety split. Let's see, check our answer, and we are done. Okay, we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. This is Fluffo signing off.